Okay, we're going to open up the monthly October 8th meeting for Water and Sewer Commissioners. President is Bob Josie, Keith Bonias, Bob Sullivan. We'll start off with the Assistant Manager Water and Sewer reports.
All right, do you want to read through all these, or do you guys just want to read through them and ask questions?
Yeah, I guess we can just read through them.
What a final read, huh?
Yeah, they're going crazy. They're even more. Still coming in. I had 3 call today.
Did they open up the valve yet to the river?
No.
Did you notice? I
No.
didn't notice.
Yeah, river's still low. It's usually after
Columbus Day?
Columbus Day.
You'll get the flush out.
Yep. Yeah, you can walk out in the river with sneakers on right now.
Any questions on the Water and Sewer reports?
I don't.
All right, so as you guys may know, just a couple other updates that aren't on the reports. We started Cemetery Street. And in doing so, ran into a couple snafus when we were doing it. The valve at Gilboa and our cemetery didn't work, which we kind of knew, which was one of the main reasons we wanted to do that line before they paved Cemetery Street. Then the valve that we had assumed did work, because it feels like you get a good shutdown and open all the way. We had that shut when we went to cut the pipe, it's full pressure, so we had to shut down at the beginning of A Street at Manchog. So all those people were without water. And because that other valve doesn't work, we have no way to continue running the main without shutting off that street. So tomorrow we didn't do any today because we had too much to get done with other things that were going on. So tomorrow, we're gonna try to dig up at A Street, cut that line, and put a cap on it so we can plug that line at Cemetery, so that we can leave that street live while we finish going down Cemetery Street. We did finally locate the valve at the end of Cemetery at B, and we actually only found it by fluke. They put the little hand drawing in with the tie card for the house on Cemetery Street, a little drawing that showed 212 feet of pipe or so. It didn't say how long, but I measured it out off of the ties, and they put 200, a little over 200 feet and capped the end of it. No hydrants, no nothing. So it's 200 feet of 6-inch with 2 houses on
Oh, those first two ranch houses?
it. Yeah, yeah. So, like we said, when that first house on the corner had tied in, or they had a water leak, we were expecting a service to go out to B Street, and it came out this way, but we only went to the curb stop. We didn't go out to see if we could find a main, because of course they were paying for it, so we didn't have them dig out to the main. But here's part of the issue. So I'm assuming that's what most of the pipes in that area look like.
That's
And that's-
unbelievable.
What's it, half full?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why,
That's unusual for our water mains.
but we can't
Is that that's the 6-inch that goes up Cemetery.
up Cemetery.
That's why.
Right, but that's the problem is,
It's ended, right?
right, because we have no valves, so we can stop and send flow in either direction, and we have no hydrants on Cemetery Street. So there's no way to get it to flush out those lines right there.
Now, this is being replaced though,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's being replaced, but,
and then we're gonna have the loop.
and we'll bring 8-inch all the way down from Gilboa to B Street. And at some point, we should probably go from Cemetery over to Manchog, or Manchog and Mechanic, because it's an 8-inch coming down Mechanic to the bridge. Once you get on the other side of the bridge, it goes to 6-inch. But if we had 8 coming down and then 8 feeding up, you'd get a lot better flow in that whole area. And that would give us more flow to try to flush some of the mains.
Yeah, I can see it.
Well, the reason for that blockage like that is because there's only 2 houses on that.
No, that's not that one. This one comes up and it's connected into the loop where it comes like from Mechanic up Manchog and then up A and then up Cemetery over to Gilboa. So that's tied in with a loop. It's
Yeah.
just not down to B on Cemetery. But the problem is we have no valves that worked on Cemetery. And there's no hydrants on Cemetery, so you can't stop the flow in reverse direction to try to get it to flush the way it should be. And plus, with all the mains being undersized over there to begin with, you can't get the flow you need in order to get the velocity to pull anything out that settles. And these pipes are from, 1910, 1909,
Yeah,
so,
those are the original, right?
yeah, so you're talking over 100 years old, and, it's time we start looking at trying to get some of those replaced.
It's funny because on Main Street, I mean, the lines are as clean as can be.
Oh, yeah, but that sees a lot of flow all the time.
Yeah.
That water's always going back and forth.
I'm assuming you're gonna put a fire hydrant on Cemetery.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where, at least one somewhere, so we can,
Somewhere like
shut
that.
a valve and get flow to flow. So we're working on that. We budgeted enough money to do from Gilboa to A Street, which was about $14,000. And that was for 400 feet, so we got another 500 to go. But we won't need the valves and stuff, so it's probably another 12 grand to finish going down. So I just got to figure out budget-wise how we can manage that, or if we wait until spring. but I know they want to pave cemetery, and the lower half is the worst out of the two sections of cemetery, so
When are they planning on paving?
he's waiting for us to do the main, and then he wants to give it some time to settle,
I was
so.
gonna say, you gotta give it a few months.
Well, I don't think it's going to settle at all, because we're compacting in lifts as we come up, and the material over there right now, from what we've ran into, is perfect material, so
Yeah, it's all nice gravel,
it's all sand.
sand.
Yeah, so I don't anticipate it settling at all, but he's gonna wanna wait, because what we ran into up on Northwest Main when we did that. You know, we paved the road right after and get a brand-new road with a sinkhole in it, so.
Right.
All right, so
Okay.
that's about all I got on that. I don't think we have meeting minutes.
No, no meeting minutes. We got technical difficulties on the meeting minutes.
Yeah. Rate study, there's really not much to discuss on that until I can get the finalized budget over to Doug. And Gene just sent me all that information, so I'll get that to him. And we'll let him put together his numbers, and I would say probably for the next meeting, we could have him attend or be
Yeah,
a,
you can just dial in on the Zoom, I
yeah, do
think.
the Zoom meeting
Yeah.
and get that finished up.
So we can do that at the next meeting?
I'd like to.
Yeah.
Get it done sooner rather than later. So
Yeah, I would too.
so we can get it into effect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the system development for commercial business discussion.
All right, so we had a whole bunch of things going on. There's discussion of a 1 million square foot house, building between Northeast Main and Gilboa. So basically the McIntyre property. So that's a 1 million square foot building there. Not sure as to what it is yet.
That's all in Douglas, right?
Yes. From what I've heard, that's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
Now, do we know what the water use is gonna be? Is it just a couple of bathrooms or is it
No,
a system?
I'm
gonna assume
They need the-
it has to be sprinkled.
They need the fire flow, definitely. It has to be sprinklered. That's a huge building. So
What is it, about 8,000, 10,000 square feet?
anything over, well, Douglas
12,000.
changed it to 8.
Yeah.
10 is the fire code, I think, and I think Douglas went with 8. But, yeah, that's well over 8,000, well over 10,000.
Now, if that does need well, I'm gonna need sprinkler, are we gonna be able to supply water?
During all the conversations through this project and everything going on, it was explained to them that the water main from Davis Street on Northeast Main has to be increased from there all the way up to the Uxbridge line, essentially, from the existing 8-inch to a 12-inch. So that'll bring you 12-inch from the 16-inch main all the way up that way. The line on North Street from Main Street down to the bridge, I would probably say would go to a 16-inch. Just because you're coming off of a 16, you can continue a 16 down. We would have went 16 across the bridge, but we couldn't fit 16 in the bridge.
Oh, really?
So we would have had to hang it off the side of the bridge, and there was a lot of stuff going on at the time that wouldn't allow for that. So we went 8 going across the, or 12 going across the bridge right now. And then we would go 12 from the intersection of North Street and Gilboa down to the existing 12-inch on Gilboa at the mill parking lot. And then they would loop through that project with 12, so it would loop the two sides together. And in
Be
doing,
looping 2 12s.
yeah, you'd have 2 12s off of a 16. So that should give them plenty of flow.
Yeah, but what about future now? I mean,
Future for what?
we can't run 16 across the bridge down to Gilboa, going to Gilboa and North?
We probably could. I mean, some of that's discussions we have to have with the engineers. They would have the hydraulic model, and, you know,
Because I want to, find out later that we're going to have to increase that section.
well, in my opinion, the next thing you would do is probably go up North Street with 12-inch, replace all that main going up North Street, and then put a tank at the top of North Street.
Like we originally planned at one time, or?
And then you would loop off of that tank, you'd come back down through whoever's property that is up there, and then come through the Pine Development property and back over to Gilboa. So you'd have essentially 3 12s feeding, and one of them, 2 of them being off of a 16-inch main and 1 being off of, or 2 being off of a new storage tank, so. That
Yeah,
would,
but the only way you get 16 over there is if you had a gantry or something, right? Bring a pipe over,
you'd have to hang it off the side of the bridge.
or off the side of the bridge.
Yeah, and I know they want to replace that bridge at some point to take the jog out to make it safer.
So in other words, you'd probably have to do it at the time you change the bridge, and I would think.
Yeah, that's what I would say. But I would think that with 12s all the way over to there, that would be sufficient flow for what they're doing right now. But that brings me to another project that they're discussing down in that end.
Now, what was the original plan? Going 16 right across the bridge over to North and Gilboa?
Yeah, you'd probably go 16 from Main Street, although it depends on what original plan you're talking about, because
Yeah, I get,
when they did the 16-inch main, I don't know why they put a 16 by 12 T for Gilboa, or for North Street. So they had, at that point, they had intended on running 12-inch down north. I preferred 16-inch on north, because then you would get down to that intersection and supply that into town off of a 16. You'd have plenty of flow for all that area. And then you run 12s off of that, but like I said, originally somebody planned on a 12-inch going down North Street because that's what they put in for a reducing T at Main Street.
And we don't have 12 going up Northeast Main now to the Uxbridge line?
No, it's 8.
It's 8? Because it is right in front of that pit, right?
I have it right to the town line right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put like roughly 400 feet of new 8-inch ductile, but that would get taken out and put in 12-inch.
Well, so they're aware of that?
Yep. And then also in those discussions was that a new pump station would have to go in, because the one on Gilboa Street couldn't handle any additional flow. Nor do I think it would be at the correct elevation for them to come into it anyway. So they would need something a little further down, and probably go deeper than what we have. And then we would probably take the flow from ours, get rid of that pump station, and just gravitate down further into that one.
Are they willing to do this?
It's all been discussed in the negotiations. I don't know where it stands or what tips would take place or
It's
what.
out of our hands, or?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with us, but. So then
I have
there's,
no idea what they need for and you're saying the pump station might have to be upgraded anyways?
it will have to be upgraded. There's no
Even
doubt
if they
about
only
that.
have a few bathrooms in there, or?
Well, from what I heard, 500 to 1,500 employees, so that's more than a few bathrooms. And
Oh, yeah, I guess it is, yeah.
you're talking anywhere between
6 or 7.
40 and 120,000 gallons a day.
Yeah, okay.
So, so that pump station definitely won't handle that. So then on top of this discussion, there's other discussions that I've been heavily involved with in the last 2 weeks.
The, on the other
Yeah,
side,
you-
146, yeah.
You attended one of those Zoom meetings. So there's another project on the other side of 146 that wants water and sewer. And there's been a whole bunch of conversations and multiple towns involved in trying to collaborate to get something that'll work, whether we provide all the water and sewer, or we provide a portion of, and then another town provides some. There also was discussions on building a treatment plant, adding on to a treatment plant, siting another treatment plant. So,
I see that down at least a year or two down the road.
well, they're looking for,
Oxford said they're, what, 2 years out? Or a year out? As far as water,
Northbridge or Whitensville?
Whitensville, I meant to say, yeah.
Yeah, Whitensville, depends on their volumes. And the thing is, they gave us a minimum, maximum gallon per minute flow, and then an annual minimum, maximum. So the annual was like 112 million gallons. So we currently pump 71 million gallons a year. So that's more than we currently provide to everyone. So we'd have to get an increase in our Water Management Act permit, which, promoting jobs, economic development, all that, I don't see why it wouldn't go through. And then they were talking, so that's 112 million for an annual, but then they had numbers in there for gallons per minute, and the high end of the gallon per minute puts you at 9 million gallons a day. So even increasing our permit, we couldn't come up with that amount of water. So until they give us some information of, you know, something a little more definitive than this many gallons per minute or this much a year, you know, I need to know how long that gallon per minute will run. So if they could give us a gallon per day, you know, that could narrow it down to something that we could work with and even determine if we would be able to do it. But we, you know, with the limited information they gave us, we went and, you know, scrambled and tried to put together all the numbers we could and said, all right, well, here's what we have available, but that would max us out and kill any development in our area, and that would be up to commissioners to determine if we want to allocate all that water to one user. And that property is, a portion of it where the building would be is Douglas, a portion is Northbridge, a portion is Uxbridge, or a portion is Sutton, a portion is
Sutton, Uxbridge, no, Sutton, Uxbridge.
Sutton, Uxbridge, and us.
Yeah.
And I believe Northbridge is involved in some way, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, Whitesville.
they're gonna be.
Yeah, there's all
involved
4
somehow.
towns are right in that.
I know the 4 towns come together right there, but
I thought it was 3, but apparently it's 4.
I think where the building was 3, but I think Northbridge is also,
Yeah, because when you go from Gilboa, and say you follow that to north, up onto the Whitensville side, you've got Whitensville, Uxbridge, Douglas, and Sutton all right there.
yeah, so. So anyways, all 4 towns have been in the conversations
Okay.
and trying to figure out what could work.
And we're on a list of, there's like 10 or 15 other sites they're looking at, right?
I think we were the pick for Massachusetts. There were like, I don't know, 9 or 12 sites in Massachusetts, but I think we were the
Yeah.
finalists in that pick. But that's for Mass, and then there's, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 sites countrywide to, that they're gonna pick one of those, so.
Are we the one in Mass or 5 in Mass?
I think we're the one
We're
that,
the only one in Mass.
I believe we're narrowed down to the top pick for Mass. But that is
And what's that project? Was there any?
biomedical.
Okay.
And supposedly anywhere between $500 million and $1 billion project. So,
Now,
so that's,
upgrading the pump station, and I mean,
well, that's the other thing is if they want sewer, I mean, obviously you can't do a Title V on million, 112 million gallons a year, so, it's 112 million is 307,000 gallons a day, so that would also currently tap out the wastewater plant.
oh, you're talking about the other project on 146?
Yes.
On the other side?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about on the
The million,
other side.
the million square foot,
Yeah.
yeah, that would need to upgrade the pump station. So there's,
Now, what happens, we have to upgrade that pump station in anticipation of that other one, or would it be better off to have the other site have their own pump station then?
that's some of the discussion that needs to happen still.
Yeah.
When we get to the phase where we're discussing what needs to be done for the million square foot, I think we need to be involved and say, all right, well, the force main needs to be this size in order to accommodate any future growth beyond that, because the force main's going to need to be upgraded coming down Gilboa. So, I mean, it's only a 4-inch now, So in order to handle those flows, you're gonna need a bigger pipe going from
Obviously.
whatever the new pump station is, all the way up to the gravity, which is
There's
roughly,
other alternative that we looked at, that would be ideal, I think,
oh, yeah.
for that other project.
Yeah, if they can convert that, get it up and running again. But, you know, that's a lot of work, and
Yeah.
a lot of it hinges on permits and timing. They want those numbers available by 2022. So that's, you know,
Well, see, the thing is, we gotta upgrade our plant later. I think the agreement would have to be that they would pay for the upgrades, but,
well, it would all depend on how much, there was like phase 1 and 2 of product development, or what, I forget what they call them, PD and DP and DS or something, I don't know. But there's 2 phases, and there's 2 different functions and 2 phases to each function. So I don't know if they're planning on doing both on the same site, maybe one on one site, one on a different site, and then the different phases. So depending on how the phases come into effect is how, you know, if they started off with one phase and only did 100,000 gallons a day, you know, we could handle that with the existing plant and still have some room for our own growth internally and permit-wise before we have to start upgrades. So if they did it in a phase where it gave time, we could start the process of permitting to get an increase in our permit, our discharge permit, and design and construction to add on and do whatever we need to for the treatment plant to handle those flows. But the other caveat is that they won't tell us what we have for a waste stream. So without knowing what type of waste stream it is, we don't know if our treatment plant can even handle that type of treatment.
You might have to do $10 million in upgrades to the plant.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Without telling me what the waste consists of and what your flows per day are, you know, a gallon per minute, okay, great, that's your peak, but do you run it for 1 minute, or do you run it for 1,440 minutes a day?
Yeah.
You know, big difference there. So
Yeah.
until we can get more of that information, you know, we won't even be able to determine if our treatment process can handle it, if we have the footprint that we would need to in order to put in the treatment that could handle it, and what the cost would be to do that. So,
then they might have to pre-treat on site before they put it to us too, so,
Yeah.
well, they will have to pre-treat, that's,
but that was a lot.
yeah, regardless, once you hit 50,000 gallons a day, the pre-treatment regs take place. And so they understand that they have to do pre-treatment, and that would be to our standards, but we don't have any users over 50,000 gallons a day, so we don't have a pre-treatment program in place. So that's something else that we would have.
Oh, the pre-treatment
Quickly,
is not, I'm getting confused on the pre-treatment, but I thought the pre-treatment is whatever they had coming out of there had to be pre-treated before it could come to our plant,
Yeah, but it,
whatever they used.
but it depends on whatever they have. I mean, if our standards say you can't send us anything less than 6 for a pH or 6.5 for a pH, can't be over 8.5 for a pH, can't have metals, you know, whatever our permits are, whatever our pre-treatment regulations would be, we don't have them because we
Right.
don't have any pre-treatment customers. We would have to establish a pre-treatment bylaw or a pre-treatment program before this went into effect, so we would have standards that they have to abide by.
And is that on our end, or is that a town thing? That's on our end.
That would be our end,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there must be industry standards anyway that we
Oh,
can
yeah.
just kind of pluck from, so.
Yeah. I'm sure we're not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most towns have them. We just happen to be a bedroom community that
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of commercial industrial, so.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing I'd be concerned about, is we're just looking at, you know, that one customer, but if you get a facility like that, well, then that's gonna cause increased population. So we're still gonna have those customers that are gonna make it on the system as well.
Right, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so the design would have to factor in
growth
whatever we think
in the community.
could be potential growth.
Yeah,
I know there's discussions of multiple other large buildings in areas of town that would also be tied in.
yeah. And if they do a campus up there and, you know, say we get 2 or 3 of the buildings and then some other town gets 2 or 3 of the buildings, if it's a campus style thing, that
Well-
would divvy it up.
What they were talking about was 2 buildings, and that took up that whole property, so they can't,
Yeah.
they can't add on anymore.
No.
That pretty much maxes out that available footprint on that property. Because that's one of the things that they were saying, they wouldn't have any area left to build their own treatment plant. So if they had to build their own treatment plant, it couldn't be on site, they'd have to build it somewhere off-site. But
Then
that's
that
all.
still brings us back to upgrading the pump station. What do we do? Just upgrade it for the 1,000,000 square foot warehouse or whatever it is? And worry about the reservoir?
It's
Or
a,
can we have 2 pump stations, another pump station for the other project?
well, that's what I was gonna say, I mean, I would say we'd probably, you have to get the engineers involved at some point. I mean, they're trying to get me to give them all these answers, and
Right, yeah.
I'm not a design engineer. So, you-
And it probably makes sense to have a separate pump station put in for that project.
Yeah.
But we'd have to increase the size of the force main going back.
Right, so I guess my first thought would be design a pump station for, you know,
Just the warehouse.
what we have existing, and then what the, you know, the very promising customer looks like. Design that pump station to handle the flows that we know are possibly coming. And people that are involved in that project are also involved in some other potential projects. So I would assume they would look at it and try to design it to take care of all those needs that they're aware of. But I would look at the engineering portion of it and say, all right, design the force main to handle all of this. And this pump station would tie into that force main, and then have the ability to tie another pump station
Into that.
into the same force main.
Right.
So you have 2 pump stations coming into 1 force main. Just design the force main right, because that's what's gonna cause the most disruption, and, you know, the majority of the work and cost is ripping up that road to put in a new water main, new sewer main. So you wanna do all that at once.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with Pines either. That's gonna be another separate issue coming down the road.
Right, that's another potential development, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's all in Douglas.
that's what I'm saying, all those people should, you know,
That's all in Douglas, isn't it? About 90% of it?
well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, Pines portion of it is in Douglas, then there's other properties up there, Vecchione, then Bedoin owns the backside,
That's
so,
all still in Douglas though.
well, Bedoin owns from the Sutton line to the next road over on, where
Road?
Walmart's up.
Partway through that pit, I think it turns to Sutton,
Right.
like the far end of it.
It's
but-
like about the middle of the entire parcel between the street that Walmart's on and Lackey Dam Road or Gilboa. About halfway through, it turns into Sutton.
Oh,
So, yeah, Pine owns all this, but I believe it's Mary Bedoin owns all that. And I know there was, you know, what,
so in other words, anything in Sutton would go to the Sutton plant, most likely.
that's all up to negotiation.
Yeah.
I mean, Sutton doesn't have a tremendous amount of capacity either.
Oh, they
so-
don't?
No, I want to say they were only a 120,000 gallon permit, and they're probably at 60,000, so they might have 60,000 left, but that would max them out. And at 80%, they got to start design criteria, so I wouldn't even say they have the full 60 available.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, because they just charge into the ground,
Yeah, they have a groundwater discharge.
so. I don't know how much can they keep dumping into the ground, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's another conversation that I think should probably happen is, you know, Sutton's treatment plant's upgrading of us. And if we're talking about all these giant projects going on all in the same area and sewer coming down this way, you know, maybe worthwhile to have a conversation with Sutton, you know, some of the higher ups in Sutton, and say, hey,
Well, who is that one?
all this design going on, we're gonna upgrade the plant, you guys kick in X, and, you know,
I'm not very good at names, but that woman we were talking to, I thought she was from Sutton.
she is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jen,
Well, yeah.
Hager?
What is she, a something to something planner?
She's the planner, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up in that conference call, but I'm like, yeah, we had enough things going on in
Yeah,
that conference
yeah.
call. Try, throw more craziness into the mix might be another headache, but that's probably something I'll mention to her. You know, if we're gonna do upgrades to a treatment plant to get it to X, you know, to add another 120,000 to that, and they could eliminate their whole treatment plant and just have a collection system. You know, collection system and a meter, and then we just bill them off of whatever they use. You know, might be worth a discussion, because their plant's getting upwards of around same age as ours, so, you know, 15, 16 years
Yeah, that's right,
old.
too, they were both built at the same time.
Well, both half built at the same time.
They were built at the same time.
Yes, by the same contractor.
Right.
So,
Yep, yep.
so I'm sure theirs is probably in worse shape than ours.
Yeah, but they just
And-
picked up Walmart, so,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm assuming, you know, all their actuator valves and everything are starting to go.
oh, I see, yeah.
You know, all that stuff is coming up, and the actuator valves are no longer, can't get those, so you gotta get retrofit. Those are some of the things that we had on in our discussions at our budget. So all that stuff is gonna start getting to the point that they need to have things replaced, and, you know, some major expenses coming up with that treatment plant, I would assume. I mean, if they're both the same style plant, theirs is just a smaller one, but I would assume that they have the same CPUs, input-output cards, all that stuff, and all of that is obsolete now. You gotta, you know, at some point, we're gonna have to upgrade all that, and that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, so. You know, if we're gonna do a big upgrade, you know, to factor in that additional flow, I think it might be worthwhile to have a conversation with them. Just to bring in you know, it's another potential revenue source, and to spread the cost out, so. All right, that's about all I got on commercial business discussion.
You got any other questions, Keith? or-
No, I'm good. I'm good. I don't think we have anything else to cover at this
We
point.
might get some industrial in there by, finally.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I'm excited with the thing on Northeast Maine. That'll be good.
Yeah,
They have a timeline on that?
sounds very promising, and it sounds like they're ready to move, so I would say that you're probably gonna see some action within the year.
And where are they talking about that bridge? Is it across the river, or is it across the pond, or
To come across the river, just downstream of the dam.
down, oh, okay, that's what I kinda thought, it'd be downstream in the dam, okay.
Do you remember where the discharge pipe was for Guilford? They got that
Oh.
diffuser pipe under the river. If you're at our pump station, and you know, people pull in there to park their car, basically where they're pulling in on the backside of that guardrail is about where I estimate they'd be going across.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
before you get to that next fire hydrant. It's
Yeah, it
down.
was a Guilford
Way
plant,
before that, yeah.
Yeah.
Guilford's plant used to dump into that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from what I could tell, looking at quick rough drafts that I saw, it looked like it's coming through. You know, they got that telephone pole right there after the pump station, just on the other side of that telephone pole. I guess it's gonna be somewhere right in there
That must be a pretty good discharge pipe there. 10, 12 inch.
for the Guilford one,
Discharge it to the plant,
the old Guilford plant.
yeah.
Yeah, that's, I would say it's probably a 12-inch pipe.
And that
I'm not
dumps
positive.
Downstream of the,
It's downstream of the
Yeah.
dam. Yep.
is that Bridget Douglas? Yeah, that's right,
Yep.
too, that
Yeah,
one's
that's Douglas.
Yep.
All righty. Anyone else? Yeah. Goals
Nope.
and objectives,
But that'll also eliminate 2 dead ends, which we all know I don't like, so.
Yeah.
two dead, oh, the water main.
It'll loop Northeast Maine to Gilboa, that'll have,
Yeah, that'll loop right around.
that's 2 dead ends that we can get rid of.
Now what, oh, so in other words, anything on Northwest Maine, No, not,
Northeast Main.
Northeast Main, that's gonna have to, that's 8-inch already, we just did that, right?
Yeah, rip that out, though.
Yeah, that was done not too many years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, no,
No, I don't even think it's been 4 years.
Huh?
might be 5 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, yeah.
That
Well,
was
you
done.
think everything's been 4 or 5?
I know, yeah. We just built the treatment plant 2 years ago.
Yeah. I know. So that'll all have to be changed from 12-inch,
From 8 to 12, yeah.
8 to 12, yeah. And that'll be up at the intersection.
Go right up to the Davis Street intersection, yeah. But that's, we know it's old cast iron coming down Davis, or down, from Davis down northeast, right before you get to Charles, because we had that leak down there. And that was deep. So that's 8-inch cast iron. It was 8-inch cast iron coming up by Sleepy Hollow, that new development that's going in. But then, I guess when they did those condos just after Monroe, that was all AC. So you got old cast to AC to ductile. So we'll get rid of all that and
Change all new.
have it all new ductile. So then we'll have from Main Street all the way down that way, all newer
You know,
ductile.
we can change that from 12-inch right off.
Come right off of
What's that, what is it, 12-inch runs on Davis or 16?
12.
12?
The 16 ends at where Northeast Main starts.
So that went up to the high school at 12.
12. So that should have good flow for that whole end of town after that. Then we just got to start working on kind of the area that we're in right now, cemetery. So to kind of fix that whole area, if you run 12 from the intersection of North up Gilboa to Manchog and then up to Mechanic, that'd give you a good supply line right there. And then it's just a matter of trying to
Now, what are you putting up cemetery? 8-inch?
8.
So that's more than enough.
That'll be good for cemetery,
Yeah.
and it'll add flow to that area. So,
Then we can tie everything else into that. as we-
yeah, I mean, if you run a 12 up Gilboa, and then, I would come off a lot of that stuff with 8s. Depending on what they do up Caswell, I would say that has to be at least an 8 going up, and then loop into Pond Street.
Well, that's right too, that's another potential
Yeah.
development up in there.
Yeah, I want to say, the plans that I saw at one point, it was 90-something units,
Oh, they got plans already for it?
just like quick sketches, no definitive drawings or anything, just kind of a preliminary layout to see what they could fit in there. But I would want that looped, and even to supply that they would have to upgrade from Mechanic all the way up. And that'd have to be, I'd probably say 12 all the way up to Caswell, and then at least 8 going up and looping into Pond. And that would relieve some of that issue.
Or would that loop it back down into Colonial?
Well, if you came up and tied into Pond Street, that would loop you over to North, essentially. But Colonial's a step further up.
Colonial's too far
I
up.
meant to say Pond, yeah. Because there's access from Pond Street up into that property too, right?
It's already looped into Colonial, water-wise. It goes from Pilgrim Court. Pilgrim and Toll Court come together, so we got a pipe going through connecting
Yeah.
those. So that's looped there already. So the only other thing that would have been nice, I wasn't here when they did any of the design for North Village, but they should have had at least an easement to tie in up to Brown Road, and then come back over and tie down into the top of North Street. And that would kind of loop that whole section as
Do we make it all the way to Brown Road?
They don't, but they abut the property to Brown Road, I think. They have a big section of land that they're not using right now, that's still, I think I saw somewhere that was like a phase 2, they were talking about single-family homes going in there or something. So I guess if they come to us with phase 2 design plans, I'll insist that something's put in to loop that around, at least the ability to. Anything else?
No, I'm good. You want a motion, Bob, or are you,
Yeah, we don't, we've got everything done.
okay. So I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 8:52. I'm sorry, did I read that wrong? 7:52, 7:52.
Just say, man, I talked that long?
Yeah, you talked too long.
Holy crap.
All right?
Yes, made the motion.
You got a second, I can't.
Oh, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.